Fear is a part of our life. It's a part of our life for when we, first take our first step. The first time that we get on a bicycle and try to ride the bike, it scares the crap out of us. I know that, my son took a fall very early on trying to ride a bike, and man, it's just been a tough situation getting him comfortable again in riding a bike because of that one accident. And something that I found out early on in life is the fear in itself, the emotional struggle with that and the impact that it had on me was actually more bothersome than actually just moving through it. And so early on, I built this habit. If I was fearful of something, it would be, let's just get it done with. Let me just move through that, right? I mean, trust me, when I grew up, I was kind of the black sheep. I was a little bit of the radical guy. I got in a lot of fights. Well, put it this way, I took care of a lot of people's fights that were being bullied with, and so, and there was times where the other guy was a lot bigger than me. Was there fear moving in to stop that person from abusing someone else? Yeah, there was. And a lot of times I felt like, well, this guy can probably kick my butt, but I'm going to get my chops in and I'll be okay. I mean, I've been hit before. I recuperate. And so it was easier for me to move into a situation and just deal with it because I knew that the outcome, it was some temporary discomfort or pain, and I did pretty good. So, and I wouldn't have if I didn't do what I needed to, but there was an outcome there that I felt needed to help someone, so I moved through it. And there's going to be a lot of times where you need to help someone, and it can be fearful in doing that. As doctors, as a whole, we have a fear of promoting ourselves. And part of this was just learned back in school that we're supposed to be professional, and somehow promoting ourselves as non-professional. Well, that's a bunch of crap. It's a myth. And the fear of doing that is really not being comfortable doing it because we haven't done it. And so what I'm going to suggest to you, the fears that we have in life, if you start really allowing that fear to hold you back and you don't step up with the courage to move through it, because there's no such thing as courage without fear, that fear was going to drag you down emotionally and have a much greater impact than moving through it and having exposed yourself to what the supposed fear is going to be. For example, I'm fearful in getting in front of people and presenting. I'm fearful of that. You're fearful because you haven't done it. And over time, the more you do it, you'll find out there is no danger in me physically or anything else. There's no danger in getting in front of a group and speaking. No matter how I fumble or anything, no one's mad. Everyone will forgive me. Everyone understands, because everyone in the audience is also fearful to get up and do, so people understand. But when you prepare and you prepare and you prepare, that fear goes down because I prepared. The same thing over time when I would get into a rumble, I had done it enough and I had prepared enough that I had probably an edge, and I knew I did. At the very least, I usually got out of half of them because the guy didn't want to fight me because I presented myself as I'm going to win, even though the guy probably could have kicked my butt, right? So I didn't have that fear so much. And as you prepare and do it, the fear begins to go down. So recognize that a lot of your fear is simply due to unpreparedness. Another example, for those of you that sing or play a musical instrument, but you do it as a hobby or whatever, and then maybe a group of people come over to the house, hey, get on the piano, hey, get on the guitar. If you're not used to performing in front of a few people, it's very fearful, and you may have been in that place, no, I'm not going to do that, and you just avoid it. And if you just sat down a few times, pretty soon you might start seeing the audience go, wow, you're really good. Oh, well, thanks. And now it's a pleasure, and now you've also, because you've lost that fear, you're giving pleasure to someone else. So as an expert in your community, as that professional, you have a responsibility as a doctor to educate, and that means, yes, getting out. If we want to call that self-promotion, call it self-promotion, but your responsibility, and if I focus, why am I getting out? Because the community needs to know the truth. And when you see other doctors getting out and exposing the truth, you want to be a part of that. I had a friend that just got back from Austin this weekend, there's a group of medical doctors and scientists debunking all of the myths on what's going on with cancer treatments and research and all of that. And they just basically said the stuff doesn't work, it's never going to work, and all the money going in to St. Jude's and all the money going into the breast and all, awareness and all of that, it's just going right back into a system that has no power in changing the situation. And these are doctors and scientists saying cancer can be taken care of. We can knock it out, but we knock it out in all kinds of natural approaches, not chemotherapy. So they're out communicating because the public was invited. They're out giving the truth. So is that bad? Is that promotion? Are they fearful? No. And if you go out in front of your audience and you give them the truth, why should you be fearful of that? It's not about you. It's about them. So my suggestion is accept and know that anyone that gets up in front of people to speak, that anyone gets in front of a prospect to sell something, to close something, there can be fear there because we're just maybe too focused on us instead of focused on them, and knowing that if I communicate properly, maybe I'm not the best speaker, but I can get the message across. They'll appreciate that. When they sit down in front of me, maybe I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to be a salesperson. But if I focus on them and I show them the recommendations and I believe in what I do, and they say, this is what I've been looking for, yes, I want to move forward with you. Great. It's just communication, guys. So learn to push through your fears. It'll give you so much empowerment and confidence in moving forward in every part of your life. And no matter what the situation is, if there's fear in it, move through it and be done with it instead of holding on and losing out on what the reward could be for both you and the people on the other side.